Good morning, everybody. I'm going to let you watch my old lady group number 2, some of whom are molting badly, carouse around out here while I talk to you a little bit about a very touchy subject. And, I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad about this one. But after a dozen years of being a member on backyardchickens.com, having been a moderator on there for a big long stretch of time, honestly, I pretty much got set in my mind what I think about this subject. One of the recent questions on there was how to stay on good terms with a neighbor whose dog killed a chicken. Well, first of all, predators. They're wild predators. I try to protect my birds from wild predators, but the way I do that is I have a predator-proof barn. It locks. It has hardware cloth screening on all the windows, and they don't go out before it's daylight, and they are in before dusk. And they are locked in the barn. Nothing's going to get in there. Maybe a bear might, but it'd have to really go through one of the windows, or figure out how to rip the door off or whatever. But most predators are nocturnal, with a few exceptions. In the spring, you're more likely to have a fox or coyote feeding kits and pups, and then you're going to see a lot more daylight attacks. But in any case, the worst predator to me is a roaming domestic dog. And I have such a hard time with that question that was asked because, in my opinion, the neighbor doesn't care if she is on good terms with you, because her dog is roaming all over the place and getting into your business and on your property and killing your birds. So why should you care about keeping a relationship that doesn't exist in the first place? To me, the bad neighbor is the neighbor, not you. The first shot was actually fired by the dog owner, allowing the dog to run loose. The lady whose hen was killed didn't do anything to endanger a good neighbor relationship. I had a scenario with a neighbor's dog that went over time until it came to a head, and then they tried an invisible fence, which was totally useless. Dog buzzed right through that, and that didn't work. They put a chain link fence up, and a huge chain link fence, and then they didn't keep the dog in it. I just determined the next time the dog would disappear. I would not talk to these people anymore about it. And I've done everything I can to protect my chickens. I have several acre property. 2 of those acres are fenced. We did a 330-foot roll of livestock fencing, U-posts at a time, as we could afford it, over several months on a military pension. It can be done. Have a driveway gate that stays closed unless I'm expecting a delivery. I do advise every chicken owner to make an effort. And within the perimeter fence, every coop that we used to have multiple coops before this barn. This barn has a fence around it, a very large pen around it. And every coop had fencing with dig barriers. And you can do it. So we did everything in our power to protect our birds. They did get out of the pens to free range because, chicken pens go to dirt in no time, and the only greens growing are going to be outside the pens. So they do get out to free range. And I have roosters with every group just about, except for these old ladies. They deserve to be rooster free, so they don't have a rooster anymore. They did have a little Bantam Cochin, but he passed away. So anyway, so you do everything you can to keep your birds safe. However, I got bees all over me over here. Damn bees, I tell you what, the dang bees are insane. Yellow jackets have been crazy this year. Dogs climb fences, they dig under fences, they still can get in. But I'm not really happy having neighbors at all, so if one of them decides to be a bad neighbor, I really don't have a lot of remorse about doing what's necessary to protect my investment. No, I don't want to shoot a dog. I love dogs. I grew up, my family raised AKC Dobermans. And, we've had dogs since we were married. I haven't had a dog for a while, but I do miss her. But, we always have the line, you would shoot someone's pet. Yeah, I have pets. These are my pets. But, I have birds that are not easily replaced. Somebody not long ago said, "You mean you'd shoot a dog over a $2 chicken?" Honey, I don't have $2 chickens. I have 2 heritage lines of barred Plymouth Rocks that are not easily replaced. I have some partridge Brahmas. It's import colors. No big hatchery in the United States sells these. The little boutique hatcheries charge a great deal of money for these. Hatching eggs are about $50 a dozen. The breeder I got mine from is in New York State. I known this man for a while on the farm, but he's not in great health. And so he may not be able to replace my birds if something happened to them. And right now, my Brahmas are all molting. Therefore, I have no eggs to replace them with if something happened to them right now. So, it's a big investment, not easily recouped. So, if I'm legally keeping my livestock and they're on my property, I have no problem blasting a dog away. Love dogs, though I do. And the Georgia dog laws back me up on this. The county ordinance mirrors the state one. The moment a dog comes onto my land and goes after my chickens, even comes across my land without being on a leash or without its owner, even if he doesn't hurt a chicken, he is a predator. I've always had a saying, a dog on its owner's property is a pet. A dog on someone else's property is a predator. And that is true. A dog off the property, and especially if it packs up with other dogs, is actually going to behave in ways that are opposed to the way you're normally seeing your dog act. I don't want dogs on my property unless they're my own dogs. The law says I can use deadly force to prevent injury. That means the dog doesn't actually have to kill a chicken for me to execute the dog. To prevent injury means I keep it from coming in contact with my birds in the first place. So, I'm not sure why people are so interested in not getting on a neighbor's bad side by insisting they keep their little predators on their own property. The neighbors are already on my bad side by allowing them to roam, and if the dog doesn't come home, them's the breaks, as they say. I'm really kind of over this issue. I have a zero tolerance policy about dogs. Now, a couple of times a puppy or something has gotten through the livestock fencing, because the bottom holes in it are larger than some, and so I've had a dog, puppy or something get into the fence. And I grabbed the puppy. It wasn't hurting my chickens. It wasn't near the chickens. And I turned it over to animal control. So anyway, I'm also constantly amazed that humans admit a canine can beat them, that they can't manage to contain a single dog. Some people say, well, what happens if it escapes? Well, are you human? Do you have higher intelligence than a canine? Can you not figure out how to put a dig barrier around your fence? How to put an extension around the top, pointed inward, slanted inward, so the dog can't get out? We did when we had AKC Dobermans we raised when I was a child. They didn't escape. But a Doberman's a very agile dog, and they never escaped. They can jump high, very big heights, very high fences, and they never got out. So if I can contain Doberman pinschers, can't you contain a little Shih Tzu or something? Can't you contain your dogs? But a lot of people don't realize also, some of my chickens are my pets. They're not just breeding stock, but I've got pets. I have chickens who are almost 11 years old. And the oldest hen I have still lays eggs during once a year period. She is so crippled she can't even walk from arthritis. But yet she still lays eggs once a year. And, some of them are really old hens. I have 8, 9, 10, and almost 11-year-old hens, and they don't have a dream of getting away from a predator. They can't run. They are too crippled up with stiff hock joints to run at that age. So, I've been told that, somebody says, well, I raised this dog from a puppy. It was a line I got from my neighbor. You know what? My oldest chicken's older than your dog. I don't care. My chickens are older than your dog. They don't deserve to be torn apart by your dog when they've been used to being safe their entire lives. But the ultimate point is the dog where it's supposed to be? And whose fault is that if it's not? It's not the chicken owners. It's my right to allow my animals to go anywhere on my own land that I want them to go. If an invading predator comes, and a domestic dog is a predator, make no mistake, it's illegally trespassing. The owner of the animal that trespassed is at fault. We're not going to try to catch the dog and endanger ourselves. So, sorry about that interruption. We're not going to try to catch a dog in a killing spree. A dog who's normally friendly will turn around and snap when its adrenaline is raging. So if we see a dog crossing over and it shows interest in our birds, we prepare a lead sleeping pill. I mean, I'm not going to let it get close enough to do any damage if I'm there and see it and I can prevent it. So, once I caught 2 dogs repeatedly at my perimeter fence in the pasture in the night and early morning, and I put up a roaming dogs video on Facebook, in a Facebook group, a local group, to see, ask whose dogs these were, if they valued them, maybe to make sure they stayed at home. I got abuse and threats and, poor puppies, and 2 women, neither of which I have a clue who dogs were, lectured me on how horrible I was and how I had no right to think of shooting the dogs. I finally told them to move on from the comments if they didn't know who the owner was. It's been suggested you grab the collar and restrain it, blah, 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 and I said I'm not going to do that. Next, talk to the owner. Well, I don't know who the owner of these dogs is. Unless it belongs to one of 2 neighbors, I have zero idea who the dog is. I don't know who it belongs to, if it belongs to anybody. I don't know if it was a dumpy by somebody. That's a big problem in the country. I have no idea. So, if they get into the perimeter, they are in danger, because I do have some valuable birds. And then I was accused of having fighting chickens, because those are the only valuable birds she could think of. No, partridge and blue partridge Brahmas are extremely valuable birds. $15 per day-old chick, unsexed, plus shipping, is a big investment. $50 for hatching eggs that may or may not hatch is a big investment. And then they're not easily replaced if something happens to them. So, it's not my responsibility to keep track of someone else's dogs. I have no responsibility to do that. It's your responsibility. Dogs don't get a pass because they're dogs, and I have chickens. There's no exception for hunting dogs either. Don't you let your dogs go roaming and running across the county. They come across my pasture and take a look at my chickens. They're in danger too. I don't care how valuable your dog is. It's trespassing. I didn't give anyone permission to hunt on my property, did I? No, I did not. In fact, my property's posted, but a dog cannot read my signs. So, one person that was threatening me over these 2 dogs I caught on game camera, she said she hopes if I kill the dogs, they find where I live and take care of business. Okay, so it's bad for me to shoot a dog that's endangering my livestock, but violence against another human being is okay? That's a really twisted point of view. These people are twisted. So, it's just insane. The insanity. I mean, some of the craziness I hear when you start out talking about executing a marauding dog is just crazy. But just remember this: a dog on its owner's property is a pet. A dog on someone else's property is a predator. Plain and simple. Keep your dogs at home.